Hi, I'm Mark, and welcome to the current Outside Views report on Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine. A group in Putin's closest circle is supposed to urge the Kremlin chief to end the war. That's what one of his fiercest opponents claims, at least, the Russian right-wing nationalist Igor Girkin. So Putin's inner circle is said to be seething, at least that's what the former Secret Service officer and Russian right-wing nationalist Igor Gerkin says. He sees a power shift within the most important people close to the Kremlin boss. What's more, he believes that Yevgeny Prigozhin's revolt was successful, at least as far as the balance of power in Kremlin circles is concerned. At the center, he sees an ominous Osero cooperative, which is said to consist of Sergey Kirienko, President Putin's deputy chief of staff, Yuri Kovalchuk, Putin's man for his personal finances, and the oligarch Boris Rotenberg. Rotenberg is a co-owner of SGM, one of the largest construction companies in Russia. The United States imposed sanctions on him in 2014, and he is said to have good contacts with Putin. His brother Arkady was the president's judo sparring partner. Girkin, who was proven to have participated in the downing of MH17 over Ukraine and was convicted in the Netherlands, has long been considered a critic of Putin. The suspected war criminal has repeatedly criticized President Putin and the military leadership. He represents positions of right-wing nationalists. In 2014, he had already criticized the Russian president for not taking more Ukrainian territories after the annexation. For years, Girkin had called for a full-scale war against Ukraine. In 2014, he himself led soldiers in the Donetsk region, which was then already under Russian influence. Now, Girkin wrote on Telegram that the faction around Defense Minister Shoigu had lost influence, and the Osero group is now trying to set the course for a takeover. Nor would they shy away from sabotaging military operations to put pressure on Putin to end the war, and defeats at the front would serve as arguments for supporters of surrender. Together with other allies, the group wants to overthrow Putin from St. Petersburg and replace him with a person from their own ranks. As early as May, Girkin described the Osero Cooperative as a Russian mafia and claimed that Prigozhin was under the group's protection. The American Institute for the Studies of War sees a clear strategy behind Girkin's warnings. Girkin's claims are likely part of his ongoing efforts to diminish Russia's political and domestic support for a possible ceasefire in the war in Ukraine. It is worth noting, however, that he is targeting certain members of Putin's inner circle. That's what the Institute wrote in its assessment of the war in Ukraine. Sergey Kirienko plays a special role in this. He's considered a political careerist who has increased his influence in recent years. He was already prime minister under Boris Yeltsin and is responsible, among other things, for education in Russia, even if that is not technically one of the tasks of the presidential staff. Andrei Pertsev, who writes for the independent Russian news site Meduza, sees Kirienko as part of a scientific communism that is to be established in Russia. He should also devote himself to propaganda and the influence of the Kremlin on the internet. Kirienko is doing everything to make himself an irreplaceable cog in the machinery of power. That is what Pertsev wrote in March. The opposition news site Meduza recently went even further. It attributed Kirienko's ambitions for the highest office. According to Kremlin circles, he is trying to position himself as Putin's successor. Although he has a good relationship with Putin, but little support from oligarchs and important government officials, insiders told Meduza. However, it's unclear whether he is really one of the people who are supposed to be pushing Putin to end the war, as Girkin claims. According to the ISW, Girkin is trying to portray Wagner boss Prigozhin as a threat to Putin and thus also to his supposed supporters. Girkin may be attempting to discredit Kirienko and other alleged Prigozhin patrons in order to undermine any support Prigozhin may have among possible remaining prominent patrons. That's what the status report said. But so there's a lot going on, obviously, in Russia. And if you want to know more about the developments in the war, the next video is right here in the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.